faithfully bringing you value by exploring great books from around the world. Hi, this is Sally with Book Insights. Today we're diving into The Learning Tree, subtitled A New Approach to Systematically Solving Children's Learning Challenges. Do you ever feel stuck as a parent? Your child faces all kinds of issues in school and life, and you're not sure how to help. For instance, reading slowly and missing the main points. Or being careless with math, struggling to understand word problems, or procrastinating without a plan. Homework that should take 2 hours ends up half done by bedtime. If this were your kid, how would you handle it? Would you push more reading, micromanage homework to fix errors, or nag about time? If that's your approach, Stanley Greenspan would say you're off track. Fixing mistakes like that is just a band-aid, not a real solution. What parents really need is to uncover the root cause. Stanley Greenspan is a renowned American child development psychologist and a leading figure in child mental health today. His research team includes pediatricians, psychiatrists, and psychologists, all dedicated to studying kids' cognitive and emotional growth. Greenspan suggests that to tackle learning issues, we must look holistically at sensory, motor, emotional, and cognitive factors. He introduced the concept of the learning tree, with trunk, roots, and branches symbolizing the core parts of kids' learning. The trunk represents thinking skills. It integrates and processes information to help kids reason soundly. So, where does it come from? Kids get information through the roots, the sensory system, like hearing, vision, and touch. Just like roots drawing water and nutrients from the soil, the branches stand for core academic skills: reading, math, writing, and organization, showing how kids apply learning. If children struggle with reading comprehension or time management, it's like branches failing to blossom beautifully. If parents only focus on pruning the branches, they'll never fix the issue. The real problem could be underdeveloped thinking skills in the trunk or sensory processing issues in the roots. But to solve kids' learning challenges, we must strengthen thinking skills, address sensory gaps, so the whole tree can blossom. Now I'll explain the book through 3 parts. First, how the learning tree's trunk functions. Second, how the learning tree's roots operate. Third, how to help branches thrive and bear fruit. Let's begin with the trunk. The trunk represents thinking skills, the core of a child's abilities. Kids use these skills not just academically, but socially too. The trunk strength determines the whole tree's growth. Thinking skills develop through sequential stages. The author outlines 9 levels. Level 1, noticing the world. Kids start building this right after birth. They notice mom's smile, different sounds.
Around 2 months, they coo to get attention, starting to engage with our world.
Level 2, engaging with the world. By 4 months, they interact with us. That's level 3 of cognitive development.
For example, when we smile at them, they giggle back.
Around 10 months, thinking skills advance toward level 4. They start solving problems with us. Before, if a toy was out of reach, they'd just cry. Now, they'll guide mom's hand to point at the toy. Around age 2, with stronger language skills, they reach level 5, expressing ideas. Now they'll say, "Mom, I want that Peppa Pig toy." As kids develop ideas, they find joy in their own thoughts. Like building a block park to play pretend, expressing ideas is crucial for creativity. By age 3, children develop the 6th level of thinking skills, called logical thinking. Kids learn to identify cause and effect relationships, ask why, and answer others' why questions.
For example, if a child wants to buy a toy, he'll say it's because he likes it, so he wants to bring it home.
These first 6 thinking skills form the child's basic cognitive abilities. For children to connect with the world, they first need to pay attention, then actively participate and engage in interactions. For instance, students must focus to understand what's being taught. Students need to actively participate in class to learn and interact with teachers to clarify any confusions. Through this process, children gradually develop interests in things, form their own ideas, and strive to understand cause and effect relationships.
By ages 4 or 5, kids are ready to give multiple explanations for a behavior. This is the 7th level, called multi-factor thinking. So, at this stage, they enter advanced thinking development. Using the toy example, they might tell parents reasons like not just liking it, but also that friends have it and they don't, or that parents promised they could pick a toy for their birthday.
The eighth level is comparative thinking and gray area thinking, both involving the concept of comparison.
For example, a child might think Xiao Ming plays basketball better than Xiao Qian. That's comparative thinking.
How much better is Xiao Ming than Xiao Quan? The child replies, just a little bit better. That's the gray area. The gray area is the middle ground between black and white, helping kids realize things aren't just black or white. This shows kids transitioning to nuanced thinking, grasping subtleties and complexities between people and different things. The ninth level is reflective thinking, where children reflect on their own actions and thoughts. For example, a child always makes mistakes in homework. He tells mom, I always play first after school, leaving homework until bedtime. So making mistakes is no surprise. That's a form of reflection. Through self-reflection and self-analysis, we learn from experiences. Multi-factor thinking, comparative and gray area thinking, reflective thinking. These three types of thinking are called advanced cognitive abilities. If well developed, they'll benefit children throughout their lives. Remember, many adults haven't fully developed advanced thinking. They often use oversimplified black and white reasoning when facing difficulties. These 9 thinking skills progress from simple to complex, basic to advanced. Each time a child reaches a higher level, they notice new sensory experiences and re-experience them. It's this reorganization of sensations that develops thinking skills, enriching cognition and enhancing problem-solving abilities. For example, a 2-year-old sees birds flying and marvels at this wonder. By age 4, they might want to understand how birds fly. At 6, they'll compare different birds' flight speeds. By 12, they might wonder if they can build a toy airplane that flies. Through trial and error in building, they think, how can I improve this? Kids naturally learn to walk and run without teaching, but to run faster or jump higher, they need specific training. Similarly, thinking skills develop naturally with age. But for full development, parents must help them practice more. So how can parents help develop these thinking skills? 2 points are crucial. First, parents must enter their child's world. Only then can they guide their cognitive development. If parents just critique from outside, kids won't accept it and may rebel. So how do parents enter? One key tool is called floor time. Parents and children play together on the floor, creating opportunities to bond, share joy, and connect. Once in their world, how do you guide them? The author emphasizes doing 3 things during play: follow, challenge, and expand. How exactly? Consider this example. 5-year-old Xiaobu plays with a bulldozer on the floor, placing his toys, action figures, transformers, blocks, then knocking them down. Just then, Mom walked into the room, but Xiaobu ignored her. Mom had an idea. She put her foot near the bulldozer and declared herself a massive garbage dump. Ha ha! Xiaobu was instantly drawn in, attacking the dump with his bulldozer. Mom played along by moving her foot, successfully joining the game. At first, Mom followed Xiaobu's playstyle. Then she challenged him by grabbing a transformer and action figure, trying to topple the bulldozer. Xiaobu ran with the bulldozer, starting a chase game. After playing, Mom created a new idea, placing both toys on the bulldozer. When the toys fell off during movement, they problem-solved how to balance them. In this game, Mom followed 3 steps: following, challenging, expanding, exercising Xiaobu's interaction, problem-solving, and cause-effect skills. Even as kids grow, parents can still enter their world through play. Choose age-appropriate games like word puzzles, board games, or outdoor soccer. Equally crucial, attend to children's emotional needs. Help them understand, express feelings, and recognize subtle emotional differences. Because behind all cognitive abilities, emotional development is key. Children first gain emotions physiologically, like newborns feeling love through parents' gaze, touch, and kisses. Through interactions with parents and friends, they experience joy, anger, happiness, and frustration. These emotions spark interest in the real world and create inner mental life. If a child's mind is an orchestra, emotions conduct it. So what should parents do? The method is discussing different emotions with your child. When children understand their own emotional diversity, they can start recognizing others' feelings and manage their emotions appropriately. This greatly enhances social skills and also benefits academic performance. It helps kids understand character motivations in novels or historical figures. Take 12-year-old Jenny, who came home upset. Dad asked why. Turns out Mary didn't play with her after school. Then he asked, "Why do you think that happened?" Jenny said Mary was with the soccer captain because she wanted to make the team. Dad asked, "Did that hurt your feelings?" Jenny replied, "Yes, I felt hurt. But this was just once. She's usually really kind to me."
Here, Dad focused on Jenny's emotions, helping her recognize her hurt.
But she also realized people have different motivations leading to different actions. Someone hurting you doesn't make them bad. This emotional understanding develops multi-factor and gray area thinking. All right, that concludes part 1. How does the learning tree's trunk work? The trunk represents thinking skills across 9 levels, from simple to complex, which develop naturally but need parental training. Parents enter kids' worlds through play while monitoring emotional changes. That's the trunk. Now let's explore the roots. The roots represent the sensory system: hearing, vision, touch, nourishing the trunk. Similarly, sensory input is vital for healthy cognition. Sensory issues weaken thinking abilities.
We'll examine 3 key senses: auditory, visual, motor, plus regulating sensory sensitivity.
How do these 4 aspects impact cognition? First, auditory. Kids learn speech by hearing sounds, imitating them, then pairing sounds with words. For example, when teaching a child to say mom, we first let them hear the word, then point to ourselves and say, "I'm mom," and the child imitates and says, "Mom." But sometimes, even when knowing what sound to make, their mouth muscles aren't developed enough to form the correct shape, leading to unclear pronunciation. Like confusing B and D sounds, saying dada when trying to say baba. Other children struggle with processing sounds into brain instructions. Take little Anna. Her dad told her to go to her room and change clothes before going out. She went to her room, but came out without changing. Dad got upset and shouted, "Go change now!" This time Anna changed. Was she being difficult on purpose?
No, when processing multiple instructions at once, go to room, then change, she only processed the first.
So Anna only heard "go to room" and got confused about what to do next. Dad's second command was just change clothes, so she did it quickly. This explains why kids seem inattentive or struggle to follow instructions. Actually, it's about differences in how their brains process information.
Next, visual issues. Not about poor eyesight, but about failing to convert what's seen into information or instructions.
For example, Isabel can perfectly sing back a melody she hears. But if asked to play from sheet music, she struggles.
Reading music requires converting visual symbols into physical movements. Hard for her. Some kids also can't link what they see to spatial awareness.
If their toy is lost, they don't know where to look, lacking a mental map of the room. Children's physical movements are also a factor that affects thinking development. Now, if a child's movements are clumsy and uncoordinated, it doesn't just make them poor at sports, it can also cause issues with planning and sequencing, which then impacts their ability to get things done. For example, a kid trying to catch a ball, the right steps should be moving toward it, reaching out with both hands to grab it. But when they get close, their hands aren't out in time, or they reach too early before getting near, so the ball flies past. It looks chaotic, but really, they haven't planned and sequenced their actions properly. When this problem spills over into learning, it might be like a teacher explaining a math problem on the board. The child wants to write down the problem, but looking at the board listening to the explanation, and writing it down.
Without proper planning of these three actions, the teachers moved on to the next problem before he's even halfway done.
If a child is good at sports, their logical thinking skills also get strengthened. Take playing basketball. The kid needs to map out their moves, like dribbling toward the hoop.
If a coach blocks them, they gotta turn their back, use their body to hold off the coach while keeping the dribble going.
Then spin and jump to shoot the ball toward the basket. This is how sports exercise both their ideas and actions. By sequencing sport steps, they're also working on their logical thinking abilities. Lastly, whether a kid can regulate sensory sensitivity has a big impact on thinking development. Now, some kids' sensory systems overreact, making them super sensitive to certain things. For instance, visually sensitive kids get overwhelmed by bright lights, making it hard to focus on learning. Sound-sensitive kids can't handle noisy classrooms and others underreact instead. When someone gives instructions or chats with them, you gotta speak really loud to grab their attention. Or some kids won't react to a light touch. Only when you grab them tight do they respond. Then there are kids who always need different sensations to stay stimulated. The most obvious sign is they struggle to sit still in class. They love running around and roughhousing. So how can parents help kids make up for these sensory gaps? The author discusses many methods summarized into two main categories. The first is training specific senses.
For children with clumsy, uncoordinated movements, the author outlines a training technique. First, have the child imagine themselves as a worm with no hands or feet, wriggling on the ground. Now, for many more,
Next, they transform from a worm into a crocodile, using only their hands to move forward. After mastering this, they can imagine themselves as a four-legged animal. Once they master the animal movements, they gradually evolve into an upright walking human.
As a walking human, they can explore more variations like moving forward, backward, sideways, walking in circles, or changing speeds, fast run, slow walk, brisk walk.
And training specific senses. The second category of training involves coordinating senses to help children convert what they see and hear into useful information. When the author's method progresses from simple to complex in 4 steps. Step 1, linking vision with movement. Parents can make different colored cards with their child, agreeing that each color represents an action, e.g., red for step forward, yellow for step left. Then parents show the cards, and the child performs the action based on the color. Step 2, linking vision with sound. Parents make 2 sets of letter cards. The first pasted in order on a wall, the second randomly below it, e.g., C under A, S under B. Parents say A letter, and the child removes the matching card from the second row. Step 3, linking sound with action, e.g., A for step forward, B for step backward. T is a card, and it means jump once. The child now acts based on sound alone, not cards. Then comes the hardest part. Step 4, combining color and letters to set actions, e.g., step forward is red plus A. Parents demonstrate the action, and the child must simultaneously find the red card and A card. Through this series of exercises, children improve at receiving visual and auditory information and converting it into instructions. In the second aspect, we discussed how the roots of the learning tree, the sensory system, work.
Auditory, visual, motor skills, and sensory sensitivity all significantly impact children's thinking abilities.
Through targeted training, we can enhance sensory abilities, thereby boosting children's cognitive development. Now let's explore the third aspect, how to make branches thrive and bear fruit, that is, enhancing children's academic skills. I've summarized the author's method into 3 steps. Step 1, observe the child's performance to identify the problem. Take reading as an example. There are many specific issues children face, like this 9-year-old girl. Sally struggles with words over 2 syllables. She can't pronounce them, making reading texts exhausting. When teachers ask multi-step questions like, "What's the main idea of this passage?" Why did the author do this? She just can't understand the questions. Actually, Sally's reading difficulty comes from trouble distinguishing sounds, like telling B and D apart. With multi-syllable words, she doesn't know where to place the stress. So she stumbles through texts, and her confusion with questions stems from sequencing issues. She can't remember step-by-step instructions. Naturally, if she can't comprehend the teacher's requests, she can't respond. Some children's reading issues aren't about sound discrimination, but weak logical thinking. They can't put themselves in the protagonist's shoes or grasp characters' perspectives. Others struggle with math word problems. They can recite multiplication tables fluently, but can't solve applied problems because they've memorized without understanding relationships. Essentially, their logical thinking is weak. After identifying the problem, the author reminds parents not to rush to fix it. Instead, ease the child's anxiety first. That's step 2. Kids get anxious about learning struggles too. Some say, I can't learn this, or my brain just won't accept it. Parental anxiety only intensifies the child's distress. If parents only focus on solving problems while ignoring emotions, they'll meet resistance and worsen the situation.
So, before taking action, the author suggests parents help relieve anxiety. Have children voice all their fears.
For example, how much do they hate reading or writing? If they became the school principal, how would they arrange these classes? At this point, parents just need to listen patiently. After the child vents, parents can ask, so now, do you want to run away or stay and face it? If the child chooses avoidance, parents might say, oh, isn't that like an ostrich? Burying its head in the sand. Once the child can comfortably talk about being an ostrich, they'll relax. Then they might admit, I am an ostrich. I don't want to deal with this. Or, I'm not an ostrich. I'm just not interested. Parents must help children recognize their anxiety and fear. This is helping them face their true selves and understand emotional triggers. Understanding cause and effect brings relief, giving courage to solve problems rather than avoiding them fearfully. Now, step 3. Address problems at the trunk and roots of the learning tree. We'll still use reading as an example to improve children's skills. Parents can enrich children's life experiences, like playing in nature, planting a tree together, or going boating. Through diverse experiences, they'll grasp poetic phrases like peach blossoms red, plum blossoms white, grass grows and orioles fly. Help develop thinking skills, noticing, participating, interacting, problem solving. After experiences, return to shared reading. Build reflective thinking by asking, what do you think the author meant? Do you believe what the characters said? Through such exercises, children gradually apply reflective, analytical thinking to reading. Parents can guide children to project themselves into stories. Ask, if you were the main character, how would you feel? Have them interpret texts through personal experiences. True understanding comes through empathy. If sensory issues exist, parents should provide targeted practice. For auditory discrimination struggles, practice similar sounds together. Even invent fun games. When making the B sound, do a hugging motion. When making the D sound, mimic a woodpecker pecking a tree. All right, that concludes part 3. Using reading as an example, we've organized a systematic approach to identify issues, ease kids' anxiety, and solve problems step by step. For other skills like writing or math, parents can use the same logic to help the learning tree thrive and bear fruit. Throughout a child's growth, parents always aim to clear obstacles as much as possible. When problems pop up, parents try to find the root cause and fix it, but often what they think is the root is just surface level. I hope today's take on the learning tree gives parents more ideas to work with. And all right, that wraps up our interpretation of the learning tree. The reading notes are below the audio. See you next time.